This is Bob Bravo, Superintendent of Campbell Union High School District, and it's the third video podcast in a series that we call Teacher Feature. And today I have a very special guest with me, Miss Jenny Parker-Adib, who was the Teacher of the Year for Campbell Adult Education, also known as CACE, and she has a logo behind her showing you what it is. But not only was she Teacher of the Year for CACE, but ultimately she was selected as the Teacher of the Year for the entire district. So first, I just want to say congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And what is it you think that led your colleagues at CACE to nominate you?
Oh, gosh.
And select you?
Well, I guess I heard they wrote a nice write-up for me, and they mentioned, me as, like a warm-hearted person, down to earth. So that was nice to hear. And then I think a lot of them work with me closely because I develop curriculum that I share for our entire department. And it's something for adult ESL students. It's called EL Civics, and EL stands for English Language or English Learners. And it's all about kind of getting immigrant students to learn, like to build English literacy skills, but that is contextualized in civic lessons that fosters like civic engagement. So for example, the most popular one is talking to the doctor. We know that everybody is at some point going to need to talk to the doctor, so how do you have those conversations? So for however long now, I've been developing the curriculum and sharing it with our department and other schools and other adult schools. And so I think, they appreciate the work that I do, and, don't really have a choice but to use it. So I'm thinking that's probably why I was nominated.
Well, I understand that some of the curriculum you've designed actually is used beyond just the CACE, that it's been disseminated nationally?
Yeah. So because the census 2020 was a really big deal before this pandemic happened, and then now it's kind of like we've lost track of the census, even though it is so important now in the light of what's going on with the pandemic. But we developed curriculum across the levels, so beginning low, ESL, all the way up through advanced, related to kind of the what, the why, the when, the where, and the how of the census, so that students would understand and make the choice whether or not for themselves to participate in the census. We know historically immigrant population and immigrant communities are underreported in the census. And so we took it upon ourselves to, and it wasn't just me, I had a curriculum team that produced some of this curriculum for or about the census. Anyways, that was picked up by CACE, which is our kind of a state agency.
So I understand that your curriculum has actually been used nationally.
Yeah, it was kind of a project this year. We developed curriculum around the 2020 census, a team of us, actually, not just me. And we know that the census is so important for many reasons, but we also know that immigrant communities are historically undercounted in the census because of fear of completing it, lack of understanding, lack of English, whatever. So our curriculum was really designed on explaining what it is, why it's important, how you do it, all of those things, and so that students could make an educated choice about whether or not they wanted to participate in the census for themselves and their families. CACE, which is a state agency, state organization that helps us with our testing and stuff in adult ed, they help with this program. And they asked if we could share our curriculum and our assessments with other agencies in the state that were needing this curriculum, because they also wanted to do census with their students. And it was shared in the state, and then eventually it was shared nationwide. And so agencies, schools, nonprofits, libraries, whatever, that work with immigrants had the option of using the material that we created.
That's great. So I want to ask you about keeping students engaged, because a lot of teachers that I've talked to say that it's really hard in distance learning to keep students engaged. Is that true for your adult learners as well?
You know, maybe this is gonna, sound crazy, but I think if you asked most adult ESL teachers about engagement and motivation amongst their students, they would say that I don't know that we really have the same kind of problem or issue. Students come to us because they are highly motivated to learn English. They need to learn English because they need a job, or they need a better job, or they need to talk to their boss or their kid's teacher or whatever. So they are highly motivated when they get to us. I feel like it is our job, and I think a lot of us are very comfortable with this, doing like needs assessments. So, ask your surveys or Google Forms survey, something. What do you want to study? What's most important to you to learn? And they tell us.
I understand that you started organizing lessons and activities for students with choice boards. I guess I'll use air quotes, choice boards.
Yeah.
What are choice boards, and how have they been effective for you?
Yeah, so choice boards are something I actually learned I learned about them from two of my talented and wonderful coworkers, Toshiko Sasaki and Kirsten Balducci. And in a department meeting, I'm sure like many other teachers, there has been a lot of kind of cross-training and helping each other learn these new tech tools. So in one of our department meetings, we were instructed on what they are and how to use them. So I can't really take total credit for it, but basically what they are is they're Google Slides. It's a slide deck, and there is a home screen that has a bunch of links to other like subsequent slides, or links directly to websites, YouTube videos, whatever whatever material you're presenting to the students. So what it ends up being is a very organized, easy to use, user friendly way of showing or presenting the material, the activities, the lessons to students. And you can, it's very organized. You can do it topically, organize it by topic or week or whatever, their level. There's all different kinds of ways I suppose you could organize them. But instead of having to kind of, scroll through a stream on Google Classroom or look in a folder or various folders for things, it's kind of all of the stuff that was presented in that topic or lesson or that week is all in one spot. It's all there. It's like a one-stop shop. So
is there a screen you can share with us?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
You can see this is one of the choice boards I used. And basically you can see that, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was just a week's lesson about kind of advocacy, and I was able to kind of do a mini lesson on kind of California government and elected officials. But you could see that students, obviously in ESL context, need the vocabulary. Well, any context actually need the vocabulary. So they can click this. They've got the vocabulary. They've got the practices, because obviously it takes lots of repeated exposure to really kind of integrate vocabulary, especially if they're kind of like academic words or whatever. And then I can click back to the home screen, which didn't work. There we go. And they can then, when they're ready to complete sentences or write an email, which is a form of being an advocate for something, they can refer back to the vocabulary really easily because it's all kind of linked onto the same kind of slide. So this is, I think, really helpful for lower level ESL students. My students really liked it. They found it very easy to use and navigate. It forced me to be really organized about how I presented the topic and the lessons. It's easy to share. You can use it synchronously in an online class, and I can refer to it like I would refer to any slide. I can also share it with students, and then they can use it asynchronously and really literally choose whatever it is that they want to work on. So I think there's lots of applications, but it's also really great for students who tend to be less tech savvy and less confident with technology.
So this is a Google Slides. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's it. It's a slide deck with a bunch of links in it. So
then the links are taking students to other parts of the deck or totally outside of the deck?
Both. So if I do this, and can you see now? Can you see my various slides? So you can see that, like, the vocabulary, for example, will link to another slide, right? But and these are all, I think, all of on this slide deck, all of these are related or linked to other slides. But if I show you another one, like this article is linked directly to a Google Doc. Or this one is linked directly to a podcast from CUHSD. So you could do it either way.
Neat.
Yeah.
So any other tools that you've found helpful with your classes remotely?
Yeah, well, obviously, Zoom has been great, and breakout rooms have been. So I guess, should I stop sharing my screen now?
Sure.
Zoom and the breakout rooms have been great because we know that obviously our students have to do speaking practice and listening practice, and also just kind of connecting and community building. So Zoom in and of itself has been great. And the breakout room feature has been really nice. And then we've tried all kinds of things. Quizlet, I tried Quizlet Live, Kahoot. I was inspired by, I think her name is Tiffany Padilla, that you featured on one of the other teacher features, her Flipgrid. So we did a Flipgrid. And students posted their kind of things that they had seen in terms of like acts of kindness. So that was exciting to do, and students had a lot of fun with that. Yeah, just trying new things. Well, new for me.
So are there some challenges that you're having that you're still trying to figure out how to overcome? Because we don't want people to think that you're perfect.
Oh,
You may be, so.
No, there's no, I'm not worried about that. Yes, there are challenges. So every ESL class, I think you could say, is multi-level, in the sense that, we have some students who maybe have really high academic skills and can write and read, they're very skilled in those areas where, listening and speaking is a challenge for them. And then we have the opposite, students who are practically fluent in English, but have a hard time writing a sentence. So we also have that with technology. I also have students that are as young as 19 years old and as old as 75 years old. So yeah, so the kind of the technology skill difference in that age group, and then just different because of their personal experience and with technology in their own lives, that's been a challenge. Also, like the devices that they have access to. I have some students who are only on cell phones because maybe they actually have the technology, but the kids are using the Chromebook or the laptop or whatever for their class. So what I've had to really think through, and all of us in our ESL department have had to think through, is when you present like a Padlet, for example, what is that going to look like for the student on the cell phone versus the student on the iPad versus the student on the Chromebook versus the student on the whatever. So thinking through those things have been a challenge. And then also just kind of troubleshooting with students who frankly are just not as, tech savvy. So those have been challenges. I can say that, all of us have learned a lot, and I've been really lucky to be on such a great team that has been so willing to kind of face these challenges and share information. And so, yeah.
Has that team always been so collaborative, or has this situation led to more collaboration than before?
We are a close-knit team. We're not a very big department. So I think we are all pretty close-knit, and we have, we're lucky at CACE. Like, we get lots of opportunities to collaborate. Our administrators, our department chair, are big proponents of collaboration and sharing information. So I think that's kind of a core value of CACE. This experience has taken it to a whole other level. And I think I've heard kind of the same ideas in your previous podcasts. I have learned so much from my coworkers. They have shared resources, they have shared tips, they have taught me things like the choice board. And it has just been, we talk about silver linings all the time in this, crisis. That has really truly been such a silver lining and so inspiring to kind of be on a team that's willing to like face these challenges, help each other, and like do it with grace and like a smile on your face, and kind of like laugh off the fact that, it's going to be hard sometimes.
Wow. That sounds like a team I want to be on. So what sort of final advice might you give any teacher that's watching who just still feels like, I'm just still struggling with this transition to distance learning?
Yeah, I guess I kind of have two kind of thoughts. And one thought is kind of just based on my own experience as a student, and that is anytime, any opportunity, any chance you get to make something personal or related somehow to your life or your experience, or just make you human, not just this teacher in a box. Students, I think, will appreciate that, and they will be really engaged by that. I know that in ESL land, students want to know, what does the American do? What is the American person's experience? So I know that my students like that. But I even think about like when I was in high school, and I just remember being in this US history AP class, and frankly, it was just so dry, and it was lecture style, and it just was not exciting. But the teacher would sometimes tell us these personal stories that were related to the history topic or lesson he was teaching. And all of a sudden, it was like, he had everyone in the palm of his hand. Everybody was riveted. And and that was such a stark contrast to the rest of his class. And I just remember that thinking like, we just wanted the personal stories and then tie it into how it was related to history. Another example I have of that is in college when I was taking a biology class. This professor would do these biology lectures, and I was never like a big biology sciencey person. I teach English, right? But I loved his lectures, biology lectures, and I learned so much from that class. And I just remember, looking forward to his classes. And at the end of the term, I went up to him and I just thanked him, and I just told him how much I loved his class. And he told me this piece of advice that I will never forget. And that was, he had learned somewhere along the line that students or people in general can really kind of only concentrate and focus on dense or new material or lessons for like, I don't know, I think there's like, he had a specific time, but it was like 10 minutes basically, let's say. And so every 10 minutes, what he would do is he would try to kind of bring in a personal little tidbit or a story or a joke or some random thing that would kind of get everybody back on to like listening to him and paying attention to him. And then he would seamlessly transition back into his lecture about biology. And, you know, he did it so well. He was a, you know, veteran teacher. He was very experienced. He did it so well. It was seamless. And I hadn't even caught on to that, but that's what he was doing. And I'll never forget that. And those are, you know, in-person experiences or as a student. But I think now in this space where it is so much less personal, you know, you're a little box on a screen. I think any opportunity we have to bring in the person, the human, and I think, you know, students appreciate that. They are motivated by that, engaged by that. I think, yeah, ultimately they appreciate that. The other thing I guess I would say kind of more related to the technology is I don't necessarily think that more technology or more tech tools make a better class. I think we should try to embrace them and try to learn them and don't be afraid of them. But I also don't think like the more is better. I think students want to have meaningful connection with their students and their classmates. And when we throw in a lot of like tech tidbits, sometimes it fosters that connection and that community, and sometimes it's distracting. So I think we all have to kind of find that balance. And I don't think it's the same for every teacher. I don't think it's the same for every class or every subject. I think that's something we all need to learn and just, you know, do our best to figure out where that balance is.
Thank you so much for those words of wisdom. Good things to keep in mind for all of us. Well, Internet, I've been talking with Jennifer Parker-Adib, the Teacher of the Year for Adult Ed and for all of Campbell Union High School District. Thank you for joining us, Jenny.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.